We all have this blueprint inside us for huge personal transformation, but how do you actually unlock it?
Yeah, that's the big question.
And we're going to tackle that mystery today by asking something that sounds really simple. How does something so small, like the tiniest of seeds, explain our greatest potential for growth?
And our ability to face the unknown.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
ultimately to achieve, self mastery.
It definitely sounds like a parable, and well, in a lot of ways it is,
Yeah.
but we're going to ground it in clinical practice.
Yeah.
This deep dive is based on the work of Dr. Thomas Maples.
He's a licensed mental health clinician and a philosopher.
Right, and it's from his really powerful piece, Nurturing Faith, the Power of a Mustard Seed.
Maples has built this fantastic framework. He merges clinical thought, how our minds actually adapt and grow with these really profound spiritual and philosophical metaphors.
They work so well
They
together.
really do. So, our mission today is to unpack that framework. We want to understand, in a practical sense, how to navigate risk, how to build something solid we can call trust, and how all those elements combine to, move us toward our full potential.
Precisely. Maples argues that life operates at a very specific, and I'd say charged, intersection,
What
the body,
bad?
mind, and spirit. And for him, faith isn't just a belief system. It's the essential bridge. It's the action that lets us cross the gaps that life's biggest mysteries throw at us.
So, we're tracing the journey from a tiny seed to a huge, thriving plant.
And that transformation, it demands that we actually engage with
Well,
it.
let's start with the root of the idea then, that core metaphor. It's the parable of the mustard seed from the book of Matthew,
The metaphor is so powerful because of its extreme
the
contrast.
scale of it.
Exactly, the scale. The seed is described as the smallest of all the seeds. I mean, the most unassuming, seemingly insignificant thing you could possibly plant.
Right.
Yet when it's fully grown, it becomes the largest of all the garden plants. It transforms into this massive bush where, as the text says, the birds of the sky come and dwell.
That transition from this tiny, insignificant seed to a sheltering giant that just perfectly captures potential energy being realized.
It really does.
But where does this happen philosophically? You mentioned the intersection of body, mind, and spirit.
So Maple sees this intersection as the catalyst for maturity.
Hmm?
The capacity of our body and the analytical capacity of our mind, they only mature fully when they engage with that third element.
Okay.
He describes the soul as what grounds us. It's the reality of the life we have right now. But the spirit, that's
Yeah.
different.
How is it different?
The spirit is the part of us that's drawn to possibility. It emerges in our, and I'm quoting here, flighty dreams and the thrill of life's challenges.
So it's the forward looking part.
Exactly. And crucially, it's the spirit that tests our faith.
Hmm.
It pushes us past the comfortable limits of what the mind and body already know.
Hmm.
And that is the only way genuine growth can even happen.
I can see how the body and mind handle the known world, right? The data, the material reality. But for you listening, if you tend towards, say, a highly rational or scientific worldview, why does Maples insist we need this spiritual component? Why not just call it, I don't know, psychological grit or something?
And that's a key question. He isn't dismissing rationality at all. He actually points out that if we rely only on philosophies like scientific reductionism or pure free will, we're only explaining the mechanisms.
Not the direction or the meaning.
Right. Reductionism tells you what the parts are, but it completely ignores the emergent complexity, the system that's so much greater than the sum of its parts.
So it can explain the biology of the seed, but not the deep impulse it has to grow and offer shelter.
Perfectly put. And because life is, inherently a collective thing, we're all interdependent. Rationality itself suggests there is some kind of innate intelligence guiding this process of expansion.
So the ultimate question he's posing isn't about belief in something external.
No, it's about an internal posture. Do we trust the journey that is uniquely ours? Are we willing to step into that unknown intersection and allow our capacity to be tested by that internal spirit?
And that trust requires movement. Movement requires risk. It's easy to talk about faith as a concept, but to activate it, that means stepping away from what's familiar.
Mm.
How does Maples bridge that philosophical idea with, immediate brave action?
The transition is immediate and very practical. The source anchors the whole idea of faith to action, using the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I think I know this one.
Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. This definition just eliminates any passivity. Faith is defined as an active engagement with uncertainty.
And that first step is the risk. But for most of us, uncertainty is.
Mhm.
It's paralyzing. If we can't map out the entire staircase, how do we know the difference between a productive risk, the kind that leads to growth, and just, sheer recklessness?
That is where the clinical perspective of Maples is so vital. He acknowledges that the first step always constitutes an element of risk, that fear is natural.
Of course.
But the insight here is highly experiential. You cannot learn to navigate risk by avoiding it. You learn by doing.
So it's like a physical workout. You don't try to run a marathon before you can even walk around the block.
Precisely. You commit to taking small, manageable steps, small risks that test your capacity. And as you successfully navigate those minor risks, your inner conviction, your faith, it grows.
And that growth then makes the bigger risks seem more doable.
Exactly. They become navigable. Maple's central principle really summarizes the entire cycle of action. Without risk, there is no reward. Without work, there is no growth.
It's a formula for trusting your own emerging capacity.
It is.
Okay, so that's the path. But the mechanism that keeps us on that path is the word trust. If faith is the initial courageous leap, what's the structure that stops us from immediately jumping back once the fear hits?
That structure is trust. And Maples defines it functionally, which is just a fantastic insight from his mental health background. He states, trust is consistency in action over time.
Consistency in action over time.
It's not a feeling of hope. It is a reliable, quantifiable track record.
Wow, that shifts the whole focus. It moves it from one grand moment of courage to, well, the repetition of small daily behaviors.
It does. And think about it psychologically. When you perform actions consistently, your mind registers a new normal. We're literally building a new neural pathway, a habit that's defined by reliability, not by the initial instinct to panic or retreat.
So if you commit to practicing a new skill for 30 minutes every single day,
That consistent action proves to your brain over time that you're capable of maintaining that commitment.
so you're not trying to convince yourself to feel brave. You're just performing the reliable action and the feeling.
Yeah.
It follows the structure.
Exactly. The action is the evidence. This feedback loop is the engine of development. Consistent action builds trust, and as that trust deepens, your faith, your capacity to embrace the unknown, expands.
And that's how the self-concept gets shaped. It moves you toward what he calls the greater self-ideal one seeks to attain.
Yes, and this movement, this consistent effort, this is where Maples finds true ecstasy. It's not about the moment you finally reach the top of the staircase.
It's in the climb itself.
True ecstasy, he says, is found in the living process of the journey, in the present moment of consistent engagement.
That reframes obstacles completely.
It does. If you view a challenge, like a complex new project or a personal crisis, not as a wall but as Daedalus's labyrinth, the objective changes.
The labyrinth isn't just a maze to escape from.
It's a door to self-growth. The value is found in the consistent, mindful act of navigating it.
So far, we've covered the internal journey, right? The potential of the seed, the courage of the risk, the internal structure of consistency. But Maples insists that while faith feels personal, its fulfillment is ultimately a shared collective experience.
Yes.
We need to bring in that final dimension, the collective metaphor.
That's the necessity of community, and it's captured in the vine and the branches metaphor from the Gospel of John. The analogy is really clear. We are all branches on a larger, interconnected vine.
So we can't achieve that self-mastery, that full growth in isolation.
It's impossible, according to Maples. He stresses that we can't fully test our beliefs or truly attain the self-mastery that is the outward expression of faith without engaging with others.
Our inner structure of trust and faith is refined through our relationships.
Constantly. It's the environment where the seed's potential can fully express itself.
Mhm.
I mean, if the mustard seed grows into a huge plant so that the birds can dwell in its branches, the shelter, the collective outcome, is the measure of the growth.
And this connection to the larger vine, to a higher purpose. It's not just about sharing resources, it creates the capacity for something extraordinary, exponential growth.
It completely shifts the mathematics of growth. Linear growth is what we achieve through our own sheer individual effort.
Right.
Exponential growth is what happens when that individual effort gets connected to a thriving system. The consistent, trust-building actions of one person contribute to the collective vitality of the whole group.
Which in turn feeds back resources and stability to the individual. A
Yeah.
positive feedback loop.
A powerful one.
Yeah.
But this metaphor also includes the concept of pruning.
Which sounds a bit difficult, maybe even harsh. But in this context, it seems to be about necessary refinement.
It requires patience and nurturing, for sure, like giving the guiding light of the sun for a seed to realize its full potential. Pruning in this framework is constant refinement. Every branch that bears fruit is pruned so that it bears more fruit.
Okay, so it's about maximizing quality.
Quality and output. It means we must be willing to shed what's unnecessary or outdated in our current self-concept. It's the constant act of shedding the old belief system to make room for the new, greater self.
This entire deep dive has moved us from this invisible starting point to the full collective shelter. What we see today, then, in the world and in our own lives, it's not the static presence of faith, but a continual resurgence,
Yes.
a product of new seeds, new efforts, new seedlings yearning to find their fruition.
It's the cycle in action. The individual's commitment to consistent small efforts is what drives the potential and ensures the collective vitality keeps expanding.
This has been a deeply insightful deep dive into what I call practical philosophy. We started with the smallest possible unit, the mustard seed, and mapped out an entire framework for personal transformation.
It's a powerful map.
That tiny seed demands courage, the risk to take the first step, and consistency, the trust in our daily actions to achieve both personal and collective self-mastery.
And if we can leave you with one key thought to mull over, let it be this. Dr. Maples states that true ecstasy is found in the living process of the journey itself, not the destination.
So the question is,
If trust is defined as consistency in action over time, how does focusing on that consistency, not the outcome, but the daily reliable process in your morning routines, your work, your relationships, how does that fundamentally shift your relationship with the unknown and your pursuit of that greater self-ideal?
the power isn't in the size of the seed, but in the unwavering commitment to its springing light. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And may you advance confidently in the direction of your dreams consistently, one small step at a time.